This is an instructional video about SiteAudit Analyzer version 2. I'll go through a couple slides and then go to a practical example and show you how to use Analyzer. Analyzer version 2 provides a lot more functionality in terms of taking information and presenting it in dashboards and charts and things like that. So one of the new things in version 2 are these dashboards, and there are some new reports. Green report is one, um, dashboards for inventory, dashboards for volume. All those are part of version 2 of Analyzer. So the full library of Analyzer version 2 includes 6 standard templates. These begin with inventory, then volume, consumables, all the way down to balanced deployment. Those get installed with the normal Analyzer version 2 license. What also gets installed is a corresponding set of PowerPoint slides that correspond to each report. So, for example, there's an inventory report or template. And in that same folder, you'll find a PowerPoint presentation. And the two are linked. And I'll go through a demonstration of that in just a minute. In addition, there are some optional reports. There's an audit. There's an audit with total cost of ownership. That's our TCO tool. There's a quarterly business review. There's one about lease analysis. There's a security audit, which is a great one for looking at fleet vulnerabilities, and you'll need version 6 of SiteAudit to use that one. And then there's a new one called Green Analysis or Sustainability Reports, and you'll need version 7 of SiteAudit for that. So the prerequisites of Analyzer are that you need a viewer, and a minimum really is to have SiteAudit version 6.8. I would recommend you have version 7 if you want to use the Green Report. So you'll need a viewer with a recent license. You'll need an Analyzer license either for the one-click product or Designer. The difference between one-click and Designer is Designer allows you to create your own reports. It allows you to pull in data, and if you're familiar with pivot tables, then you can generate your own reports. 95% of most folks will just be fine with the one-click license, and you can do filtering and other things there. So I would recommend you start with the one-click license. Third thing you'll need is what we call Office Tools, and that's simply a runtime version of Visual Studio. And you can download that from the Netaphor website. You may already have that in your installation already, but if you don't, you can download it and install it. Then finally, you'll need Excel, and we support back to 2010 all the way through Office 365. So now let's look at a practical example here. We just tell you where you install Analyzer, where it gets installed. So let's say you've got a fresh installation of Analyzer, and beginning with version 7 of SiteAudit, there's a separate uh, installation of Analyzer. And once you've run that separate installer, then you'll find that the standard 6 reports are located in a folder called Content Analyzer. You can go and move those folders anywhere you want to, or you can leave them in the program files folder if you like. But you'll see here, here's the template, and there's the corresponding PowerPoint. And both of them need to be in the same folder. So there's 6 that get installed, everything from inventory to volume and counts, consumables, etc. And I'll go ahead and take an example here. We'll use the volume and counts one as an example. So let's go to that template, and let's assume you've just installed SiteAudit Analyzer, and now you want to know what's the next step. So you'll see up here, up in the ribbon here, you'll find the SiteAudit plugin. So you can select that, And what you'll need to do is you'll need to connect to a database. So if you're using hosted, you use the connect, and then you'll connect. If you're using a local instance of SiteAudit, then you'll just connect to the local SQL server in the database that you're using. And once you've done that, then you need to pull in the data. So you'll hit refresh. And refresh will go collect the data and pull it into the worksheets that correspond with the template you're working in. So that's how you get started. Remember always to press refresh all after you've selected your database, and that'll bring the data in. Even if you close Analyzer, you'll need to refresh the data if you're going to look at new information and you didn't save it. So now let's look at some navigation features within the template here. So there's a summary worksheet that'll take you to all the different charts if you'd like. So you could use that. I could go to say volume trends here, and it would take me to the volume trends chart. That's one way you could do it. I could simply also just go ahead and select the tab here, and that would get me there. Or another way to do it is I can right click there, and I can go to any of the charts that way too. I prefer to do it that way. It's just easier to get to where you want to go. So that's a navigation tip for you. Um, so let's take a look at a couple of the charts here. So we'll first go to the dashboard, and I've pulled in some data, and I can take a look at these are the different charts. And so the dashboard is really sort of an overview of what you've got in all the other charts. You've got volume um, by month, and so that provides you different output volumes, whether it's the total count, the black and white, color, etc. Those are all presented in a trend. Um, then we've got one that looks at the average for each printer by month. We look at volume type. That would be the multifunction, single function, and we'll come back to this unknown. Now in version 7 of SiteAudit, we've expanded the device type. So you can select a device and you can say whether it's wide format, whether it's a label maker, whether it's a scanner, and of course single function, multifunction. So you can do all that in the viewer in version 7. So if you did that and you pulled in the data, then you wouldn't have an unknown here. Then we've got cost per month, and that is pulling costs from the SiteAudit database, which was put in through the viewer. You've got square meters by volume, and that's for wide format. So it's tracking the HPs, the Canons, and others by a square meter counter. Then we've got some of the other popular counters, the duplex versus the total, copy versus total, and print versus total. So the dashboard sort of is a summary. Let's move on to this chart here. This is the average volume by serial number. So what you might do here is if I wanted to look at a specific device, so I might look at, say, this device and see how its average volume was like over a period of time. So here I can see its average volume. You might want to check, say, one that maybe there was a interruption for some reason, maybe the device was down. You could see that in this chart as well. So that's looks at a volume by serial number. Let's look at the volume trend. So volume trend is taking all the information and putting it into different output types. And again, you don't have to do anything for that. But what I'm going to do on this chart is I'm going to do a little bit of filtering, and you can do the same kind of filtering in any of the charts. So one of the things I could do is I could filter by department too. So if I want to just look at devices in a specific department, I could do that. That would show me the trend for that specific department. Um, I could look at by device type. So if I just wanted single function, multifunction, I could do that. By manufacturer, so if I just was interested in a certain manufacturer or a group of manufacturers, I could check those and look at those as well. So this up here gives you the ability to do filtering. Any filtering I do and I save, then that'll be part of the presentation that we'll see in just a minute with links into the PowerPoint. So that's your filtering area, and that's in each of the charts. Now, another thing I might want to do is I might want to look at, these are trends now, and I've got all the data that this particular customer has, and it goes back to 2008, looks like. What I want is really just last year as a trend. So I can go up here and use the date filter. So I select where it says row labels and then go to date filter, and then I can select last year. And now I'm looking at a trend from January to December 2019. And that's probably what most people want to do, is they want to look at a trend by year. So that's a good tip. Another thing you could do is in this chart, you can see I've got black and white, color, duplex, and total. But what I want to also add in here is I want to add in scanned and fax trends as well. So if I put my mouse on the chart here, it'll open up some additional menu items here. Well, if I go up to Analyze, then I can open up the pivot table. If I go to Analyze in Field List, that'll list all the items that are in my pivot table. So here I could add additional counters if I wanted to. So I wanted to add in fax and scanned. So now those are added into the trend, and I might want to change their names. So I could go down to where they're added here, and if I go to value field settings, then I can change the name as they appear in the chart. So I might want to change it to fax pages, because that'll match the other items like black and white pages, color pages. So they're all consistent here. So then I'll go change the scanned here, and I'll change that to pages as well. So then they're all sort of match up. And so what I did is I went to the value field settings and just selected the name and changed it. Now I've got everything as I like it here. So that's now a trend for 1 year, and I've added some additional counters. And like I said, you could add other counters here as well, depending on what your requirements are. There are other charts in here. We'll take a look at one, one called volume by type. And this is one, again, I'm going to provide you with a tip. What this looks at is the multifunction output compared to single function output. And the way this works is that when SiteAudit detects a device, it tries to determine whether it's a multifunction or a single function. As I said in version 7, you can also identify it as if the device it discovers is wide format. If it's a label maker, you can identify it as a label maker, and then as a scanner too. But so what I want to do here is I've got some unknown, and I want to go ahead and make those known, because actually I do know what those are. So what I'll have to do is I'll go to the hidden worksheets. So I want to unhide the one I want to work with is called inventory data. So I'll unhide, go to inventory data. I go to device type here, and there I want to look at just the blanks. So those are the blanks, and I know these devices are single function devices. So I'll go ahead and make all these single function devices. Oops. Function. All right, and I want to make all of them that way. So I can just double click this and it should make one more time. All right, let's see here. We'll do it the old fashioned way. All right, so we've got that fine. Um, Now I'll go ahead and select all. Okay, now if I go back to that chart, volume by type, you'll still see them there. So I'll have to do one more thing. I'll have to go up to data, and I'll hit refresh all. And then that'll make those devices, which are now known as single function, they'll put them into the single function um, bar here. Okay, so let's look at one more thing, another tip. As you'll notice that my screen shows all these charts, you know, perfectly. They fit the screen as I want to. Um, that may not always be the case. So here's a tip: if I get one that is, for example, not filling the screen like I want to, what I can do is I can highlight it like this, and then go up to View, Zoom, and say fit the selection here. Okay, and now I've got, if I come back and I save this, next time I look at it, it'll come out exactly as the screen allows me to see. Okay, so now I've done everything I want to do, let's say, in the worksheet here. I've got everything, all my analysis done. I've made the changes here to the volume trend. And now I want to go and have a presentation which I can show the customer. So let's go and do that. So as I mentioned before, installed with the template is also a PowerPoint PPT file. So I'll go ahead and launch that. And that will ask me if I want to link those charts into the PowerPoint, and I do. If I was to say hit cancel instead, then I could see all the charts, but they wouldn't be linked to the template I just changed there. So here is the really sort of the deliverable, the end product here. This is the PowerPoint that you can use in order to show colleagues or customers. And this can be obviously customized. If I wanted to change this, I can edit. If I wanted to have a presented to, I could change that, and obviously the date. So I can make this look anything I want to. Let's look at the charts themselves. So this gives you some navigation here. This is the chart that we changed in here. So here we changed this from, I think it was like almost 2 years of trend to 1 year of trend. And now this is shown here in this chart here. Now what I want to show is if I go back and I want to make a change in my template, will that also change the PowerPoint? Let's do that. Let's go ahead and we'll go back up here and we'll undo what we did. So we'll go to the date filter and then we'll clear this filter, and it should show me everything. There we go. Now we've got a trend going back to 2018. Now let's see if that also changed the PowerPoint, and it did. So you can see I'm back to 2018, including 2019. So well, if I make a change in the template, it should also change in the PowerPoint presentation as well. So there's other charts as well. They're all linked in here. This is the one we remember we changed from unknown to single function. And there's other cost trends, etc. So that is how you use the volume and counts report. The same steps will also be used in the other templates. And so there you've got consumables and inventory, etc. And you can follow the same steps we've done today in order to make those useful to you.